How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Infinite Sports. I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, and we will be talking about, on today's episode, Giants' preseason Week 2 victory over the New York Jets. Back-to-back weeks now, the Giants have scored over 30 points. And I know, it's only preseason, I get it, but you could be a little excited, I guess, for what's to come this season, even though the schedule is nearly impossible. But the Giants did win 31-12. We once again saw all four quarterbacks play a decent amount, and I'm excited. I'm excited to see what this season is going to bring, because I think once again you saw in this game the quarterback play is going to be better than what we saw these last few years, and you got to be excited about that defense. Now, there are some concerns, but listen, every team has concerns going into the year, pretty much, unless maybe you're the Philadelphia Eagles. But anyways, to talk about this game here. So Russell Wilson, he started off the game. Then we saw Jackson Dart play a decent amount. We saw Jameis Winston play, and then we saw Tommy DeVito play as well. And Russell Wilson, right off the bat, 80-yard pass. We saw a moon ball to Bo Collins. And it's not like where, 80-yard pass and it was a slant. No, this is a moon ball. And it was a beautiful deep ball to Bo Collins. He got tackled at the one. And the Giants, of course, did score on the drive. But that's what's been missing from this offense for years, is to be able to throw the ball down the field. And Russell Wilson, not the same player he once was, but he brings that dimension to this offense. And that makes this offense a little bit more competent, is being able to throw the ball down the field and not these, short intermediate routes, these slant routes. That's what we were getting from Daniel Jones. We never really saw Daniel Jones throw the ball down the field. But with Russell Wilson, you're going to see that. And we saw Jameis Winston do the same thing. He's scrambling away, chucks the ball down the sideline. Great catch by the receiver to set up points on that drive later in the game. Now, Russ did throw a pick. To go back to Russ for a second, he did throw a pick, but Bo Collins and Russ were on. There was some miscommunication there. It's amazing watching the clip on social media, and you see all the comments of, what is Russ doing? Russ is washed. What is this? And then you have the other side, which is what happened essentially, is that the receiver and the quarterback were not on the same page. And it gets me excited to see how Russ is going to work with all of the receivers when we get to meaningful games, when we get to week 1, because we haven't seen Malik Neighbors yet. I don't think we really have seen Darius Slayton. Wandell has played a little bit, but you got all those guys out there. I know he had a connection with Jalen Hyatt. Jalen Hyatt caught a ball in this game, but for 21 yards. I'm curious to see how it's all going to look now when we get to the beginning of the season. But also, Jackson Dart was the talk of the town as well. He had a good game, 14-16, 137 yards and a touchdown. At one point, he was trying to scramble away from the defense, and he had a ton of green grass in front of him, but the Jets made a nice play. They tackled him down. Otherwise, who knows how far he would have gone. But he had a touchdown pass to Greg Dulcich, and, he looked pretty good. He looked pretty good in this preseason game, and I've said this constantly, everybody. I'm hoping that the Giants have a good year, and we don't see Jackson Dart take a snap, at least, unless, he's taking a kneel down or something. He's coming in for mop-up time or something towards the end of the game if the Giants are blowing somebody out, which is probably not going to happen, but let's just say in a perfect world that was the case. I'm hoping that we see Jackson Dart be the starter for the Giants the following year, next year. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think at some point you will see him. He will take over for Russ. And look, that's okay, because, you want to see what you have in this guy. So far, these first 2 preseason games, he's shown you something, and, you hope that this is the guy going forward. And for Brian Dable and Joe Shane, they're really hoping for it because, their jobs are on the line this year. But I don't know, you just have an overall better feel for this team as we get closer and closer to the season. The moves that they made in the offseason, and you're seeing all the past Giants make appearances at training camp, at practice. There's a different feel. And I think this Giants team is going to be better than what maybe some people may think. They're not going to be a pushover. They're not going to be a pushover. They have a very tough schedule. But you know what? A schedule like this, it builds character. And I think if they can get off to a better start, a start like they did in 2022, as opposed to 2023, could go a long way. Now, 2024, obviously, that was a lost cause from the beginning. But, 2022, they win that game in Tennessee against the team that was the 1 seed the previous season. They beat both 1 seeds in 2022 from the previous year, the Packers and the Titans. It goes a long way for some teams if you win that first game of the year. And, when they went down the field, they scored that touchdown, they got the 2-point conversion to go ahead, and then the Titans go down the field, they missed the potential game-winning field goal. I mean, that set the tone for the Giants season. Brian Daboll showing the guts to go for it, go for 2 in that situation. That went a long way. And they made the playoffs. And then 2023, I always, go back to this, but 2023, they started the year against Dallas. And I kept saying, leading up to that game is going to determine what kind of season they are going to have. And they ended up losing 40-0. And I knew right then and there the Giants were not going to have a good year. Now, last year, I was kind of just like, we'll see what happens. But I was at the first game of the year last year, and it was a disaster. And the season did not go well, and they ended up picking in the top 3 in the NFL draft. So this year, we'll see. But I think this is, on paper, I think this they have the makeup to be a team that's, they're not going to be a pushover, like I said. They got a good front 7. The quarterback play is going to be better. They got a stud wide receiver going into his second year. And I still do believe in Brian Daboll to an extent. I think they could turn. I think they could turn this around. But if you got Dallas and Washington the first week, right off the bat, you got 2 divisional opponents. I've been saying it. I think the Giants are going to pull off the upset week 1. I'm not going to say this, but they could upset Dallas, because I don't think Dallas is a team that's a world beater this year. I don't. Dallas does have a lot of talent, but they just got a lot of noise with Micah Parsons. It's just distractions. And Dak's coming back from an injury, so he's going to be a little bit rusty, even though he torches the Giants every time he plays them. And they added George Pickens. But I think that's a game that they could win. If there's any game, if they have a chance to do that, and the Cowboys don't have the same offensive line they once had. They don't run. We'll see how this running game is. We'll see. But if the Giants could play well these first couple games of the season, it could go a long way. Now, I do have my concerns. Stopping the run was a bit of an issue in this game against the Jets, although, again, you didn't have all your best guys out there. Not having Dexter Lawrence out there. And, again, it's preseason. But the Jets are going to be a run-first team this year. They are going to pound the rock down your throat and wear you down. So, obviously that's, kind of their game plan. Justin Fields was not great in his action, was a bit erratic. And that's what's going to happen, with him and throwing the football. He's not the greatest thrower of the football. He's going to be able to run it, but the passing game for the Jets might be a bit of an issue this year. Well, not might. It's going to be an issue this year. So, but, Giants pass rush is making things hard on them. Again, struggle with the run. Also the secondary. Secondary was still kind of an issue, just like last week against Buffalo. Not very good. Couldn't really, guys were getting wide open. But this is it. This is the, the second and third stringers. If you got to put some of these guys in. If, your top guys are getting hurt, that's going to be a problem. So hopefully everybody can stay healthy in the Giants secondary, so we don't have to worry about that. But yeah, I mean, look, it's another game, one more game to go. I think they play. What do they play next week? They play the Patriots, I think, for the third and final preseason game. Yeah, that's going to be on Amazon Prime. It's on Thursday. So, and then after that, it's 1 o'clock on Fox at Washington. So, yeah, that's this is it. And got fantasy drafts coming up soon. Got one this week. Then got the main one with my friends in a couple weeks, night before the season starts. So, yeah, so that'll be fun. And you get amped up, you get nervous for these type of things. You want to have some bragging rights. So, yeah, we got that going on, and then football's back, and then we're off and running. So, and then just some other things that I wanted to touch upon. Actually, I did watch a little bit. Well, I did have it on in the background, but I did pay close attention as my microphone falls. I did pay close attention to the Bears game from last night. The Bears won 38-0. But the biggest takeaway from that game, preseason, I know, Caleb Williams looked very comfortable in that offense. Change of head coach, Ben Johnson coming in. Bears got a lot of weapons. You saw them use the tight ends last night. Colston Loveland. You saw Cole Kmet had a catch as well. Olamide Zaccheaus scored a touchdown. But Caleb Williams looked a lot better than what we saw really last year. I mean, last year, they brought it up on the broadcast yesterday, he was sacked 67 times. I mean, that's unheard of. And that's the most in NFL history. So I think that's also part of it too. New offensive scheme, better offensive line. You got all these weapons around you. Bears could be a team that is going to be a problem this year. And we'll talk about predictions and stuff because I know we did rankings post free agency and post the draft. But I think we'll do like our official, division picks and Super Bowl predictions as well. So, but that was one thing I wanted to bring up as well is Caleb Williams looked pretty good last night. Josh Allen didn't play for the Bills yesterday, but yeah, the Bills couldn't do anything. So, but that doesn't indicate the kind of season the Bills are gonna have. The Bills are gonna be one of the best teams in the AFC. They got the reigning MVP. They're gonna be fine. But I was having a little fun last night with one of our Bills fans in our group chat. One of my friends that's a Bills fan. Because they got shut out. Couldn't do anything. So, and then I actually, to go back to the Giants-Jet game for a second, Jets got to clean up some things with the penalties. Aaron Glenn said it in the post game. A lot of things they got to clean up. Played very sloppy. Penalties were a huge problem in the game, and that's something that's that's hurt the Jets for years. And I'm pretty sure I said this on a previous episode too. And he was brought in to get rid of all that. And I like what he's saying in front of the mic, but now he's got to live up to what he's preaching. So. And if that's the case, if the Jets can clean that up, that definitely that's going to help them a lot. So, again, the Jets, I'm curious to see how they're going to look this year. They could definitely be a team that's not awful. The defense is not as good as it once was a couple years ago. And I feel like with Fields, if he can get things right, if he can play like how he was with Pittsburgh last year, I mean, the Jets are going to win some games, and I think their running game is going to be very good. Everybody's talking up their offensive line. So, they could be a decent competitive team, similar to the Giants. Like, I don't think these two teams, these two New York teams that play in New Jersey, are going to be pushovers. I think they are going to be in a decent amount of games this year. I think so. Now, I don't think that means, like, playoffs for either of these teams, but I think they're not going to be the laughing stocks that they have been in the past. And a lot of that has to do with, with the Jets, it's coaching, changing in philosophy there. And then for the Giants, I think they just acquired better talent on both sides of the ball through the draft and through free agency. So, things might be looking up for New York football. Maybe that's me being a little bit too optimistic. Let me know what you guys think, though. So, yeah. Those are my takeaways. Let me know what you guys think about the Giants preseason game against the Jets from over the weekend. If you're a fan of either team, what were your guys' thoughts on it? Let me know in the comments. And as always, everybody, make sure to follow us on the social media accounts in the description below. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Greatly appreciate that. And also, wherever you get your podcast, you can listen to us as well. Just look up Infinite Sports Official. And as always, everybody, I'm your host, Kenneth Gruenfelder, signing off. Have a good one. And I'll talk to you guys next time. Take care.